The world is on the verge of a seismic shift, not on land but at sea. While the headlines scream of tanks and missiles, the real war is being fought in silence. Russia's economy, its very survival, hinges on one thing: oil. But this isn't just a battle over territory. It's a war for financial power, for control over the flows that fuel Russia's war machine. Ukraine is not just facing soldiers, they are targeting Russia's economic heart. A secret fleet of over 600 ships running in the shadows. These aren't just oil tankers, they are lifelines, keeping Russia afloat amid sanctions and isolation. If Ukraine disrupts this fleet, Russia's war effort could collapse. It's not just about oil, it's about survival, economic survival. What will this mean for the global economy, for oil prices, for the future of global power? Let's find out. This isn't just a battle on the ground, it's a battle beneath the waves where the stakes are hidden but no less deadly. Russia's war effort relies on one simple truth: it needs liquidity, and it needs it now. As the world focuses on land-based warfare, the sea has become the new front line. Ukraine's strategy isn't about capturing territory, it's about strangling the flow of money that powers the Russian war machine. And that money flows through one critical artery: oil. For years, Russia has relied on a shadow fleet of tankers to circumvent sanctions, to keep oil flowing, and to keep its economy alive. This fleet operates outside the watchful eyes of the West, its movements shrouded in secrecy. Every barrel of oil that makes it past the radar is more than just fuel. It's funding for tanks, missiles, and soldiers. It's war. Now, Ukraine has identified this crucial vulnerability and is striking at the heart of it. They aren't just sinking ships, they're aiming to stop Russia's financial pulse. The question isn't just whether Ukraine can stop this fleet, it's whether the world can stop Russia's financial lifeline before it's too late. The battle on the seas is more than just an economic struggle. It's a test of global power. Will the world act before it's too late? The sea has always been a vital conduit for trade, but today it's more than that. It's a battleground for survival. Russia's reliance on oil exports is not just a strategic choice, it's an economic necessity. The flow of oil has become the lifeblood of its economy, funding everything from military operations to the very apparatus of power. But what makes this so dangerous is the way this flow is hidden from the world's watchful eyes. This is where the shadow fleet comes in. The shadow fleet is not just a collection of oil tankers, it is a covert operation designed to bypass Western sanctions and keep Russia's economy afloat. These ships operate in the shadows, moving oil under false flags and masking their origins. Every ship is a small piece of a much larger puzzle, an invisible network that connects Russia's oil reserves to markets in Asia and beyond. This hidden system allows Russia to circumvent sanctions and continue exporting oil, all while avoiding the eyes of global financial systems. The goal isn't just to keep the economy running, it's to maintain the war effort. As long as these ships keep moving, Russia can keep fighting, but Ukraine has set its sights on this network, ready to disrupt the flow and cut off the financial support that sustains Russia's military machine. It's not just a strategic move, it's a financial assault aimed at the very foundation of the war. The war is shifting. It's no longer just about soldiers, it's about stopping the invisible lifeline that keeps Russia's war machine running. Can Ukraine disrupt this covert network in time? The first strike was inevitable. Ukraine had pinpointed the vulnerability, and the time to act had come. In a daring move, Ukraine's forces launched an assault on one of Russia's key tankers, sending shockwaves through the shadow fleet. This wasn't just a hit on a ship, it was a direct blow to the financial artery that kept the Kremlin's war chest full. The message was clear: no part of Russia's operation is off limits. Every barrel of oil, every ship, is now a potential target. What's at stake isn't just the tanker, it's the entire system that keeps the war going. As the smoke from the first strike cleared, it became evident that Ukraine wasn't just playing defense anymore. This was an economic war, a war where each attack aims to strip away Russia's financial power, one ship at a time. The international response was mixed, with some nations expressing concern over the escalation, but in Kyiv, the message was simple: the fight has moved beyond the battlefield, and the seas are now a battleground for financial survival. This first strike sets the stage for a broader conflict. What happens next? How will the world respond as this economic war intensifies? As the attacks on the Shadow Fleet intensify, it becomes clearer that this isn't just a random collection of ships. It's a complex, well-oiled system designed to evade, adapt, and keep Russia's economy afloat under any circumstances. Behind the scenes, a network of intermediaries, ship owners, brokers, insurers operates in the shadows, facilitating the oil trade. These players, operating in a legal gray zone, are the lifeblood of the Shadow Fleet. They allow Russia to bypass Western sanctions, moving oil in ways that the world doesn't see. But the system is fragile. Despite its complexity, it's built on a house of cards. A single disruption, a single leak in the chain, can send the entire operation into chaos. And Ukraine's strikes are beginning to expose the cracks. What's more, this network depends on the willingness of other nations to look the other way. Countries that for a price turn a blind eye to the dark undercurrents of international trade. But as these attacks continue, the price of ignoring the system grows higher. The question now is, how long can this network survive before it buckles under the pressure? And how much longer can Russia afford to keep its economy running through this hidden, increasingly fragile system? The system may look impenetrable, but cracks are appearing. Will the pressure from Ukraine's strikes bring it all crashing down, or will Russia's Shadow Fleet continue to evade capture? The second wave of attacks hit like a thunderclap, reverberating across the international stage. Ukraine wasn't content with merely striking one tanker. They had identified the key nodes of Russia's economic lifeline and were now systematically taking them down. This time the target wasn't just a single ship. It was an entire route, a vital artery for Russia's energy exports. Ukraine's military forces launched a coordinated strike, taking out multiple vessels in a single blow. The impact was immediate. Oil shipments were delayed, routes were rerouted, and chaos ensued. The world watched in stunned silence as the ramifications of these attacks rippled across global markets. Oil prices surged, and uncertainty gripped the shipping industry. What had once seemed like an invisible war was now front-page news. Ukraine had made it clear that no part of Russia's economy was off limits. But for Russia, this was more than just an economic blow. It was a direct threat to its war effort. Every ship destroyed, every route interrupted, further destabilized an already fragile system. And with each passing day, the costs of the war climbed higher, not just in rubles, but in strategic influence. As the dust settled, one thing was clear: Ukraine had escalated the conflict in ways that no one had expected. The world was witnessing the beginning of a new phase of warfare, one where economic power and military might were inextricably linked. The stakes have never been higher. With the world's economy hanging in the balance, what's the next move in this high-stakes game? While the world watches the grand strategies unfold, it's the everyday people who bear the true weight of this invisible war. As Ukraine's strikes on Russia's Shadow Fleet intensify, the ripple effect on the global economy is felt deeply by individuals far beyond the front lines. For the people of Russia, the consequences are immediate. Inflation spikes, goods become scarce, and the cost of living soars. The war is no longer just a distant concept, it's a painful reality, eating into every household, every family, every individual. The Russian government, once so confident in its economic resilience, now faces growing unrest from its citizens. On the other side, in Ukraine, the toll is even more profound. The war is no longer a far-off threat, it's a daily fight for survival. With each successful strike against Russia's financial lifelines, there's hope but also fear. As Ukraine becomes more aggressive, the likelihood of retaliation grows. The people of Ukraine are caught in a delicate balance. aware that every victory comes with the price of even greater risks. This isn't just about military might or economic sanctions anymore. It's about the people, their hopes, their fears, their lives. They are the silent witnesses and the unwitting participants in a war that has transcended borders and now reaches into the core of their daily existence. As the cost of this war grows, who will bear the brunt? How much longer can the people of Russia and Ukraine endure the economic fallout of a war fought on the high seas? The repercussions of this invisible war are not confined to the borders of Russia and Ukraine. The ripple effects are shaking the very foundations of global geopolitics. As Ukraine intensifies its attacks on Russia's shadow fleet, the impact spreads far beyond the Black Sea. Countries that once kept their distance are now being forced to choose sides. Nations that have relied on Russian oil are feeling the strain, especially in Asia, where China and India are major players in the oil trade. These countries now face the dilemma of continuing to do business with Russia, risking their reputations, and potentially facing sanctions of their own, or cutting ties and seeking alternative suppliers. In the West, the pressure is mounting. Despite sanctions, Russia's ability to move oil through its covert network challenges the effectiveness of Western economic measures. Countries like the United States and European Union are being forced to reconsider their strategies. Can they continue to isolate Russia while maintaining stability in global oil markets? The stakes have never been higher. This war is no longer just about one country's survival. It's about reshaping the global economic order. The choices made in the coming months will decide the future of international trade, energy security, and geopolitical alliances. The world is watching as alliances shift and global markets tremble. Who will rise to meet this challenge, and who will fall? As the world watches this conflict unfold, the future remains uncertain. What comes next depends on how the various players respond to the pressure mounting on every front. The question is no longer whether the shadow fleet will be disrupted. It's about what happens after it's dismantled. Scenario 1, the best outcome, a new global order. In this best-case scenario, Ukraine's strikes succeed in crippling Russia's shadow fleet. The economic pressure becomes too great for the Kremlin to sustain its war efforts. Sanctions and military pressure from Ukraine force Russia to retreat, leading to a ceasefire and eventually negotiations. A new global economic order begins to emerge, where the international community strengthens its commitment to transparency, trade norms, and energy security. The disruption of the shadow fleet forces the world to reassess the fragility of unchecked systems, ensuring more robust regulations and accountability in global trade. Scenario 2, the middle ground, a stalemate and continued tension. In this middle ground scenario, Ukraine's efforts to cripple Russia's shadow fleet lead to significant disruption, but not a full collapse. Russia adapts, finding new ways to keep its oil flowing, albeit at a much lower level of efficiency. The world enters a prolonged period of economic instability as markets adjust to the ongoing conflict. Ukraine faces increasing retaliation from Russia, and international tensions rise. This scenario represents a prolonged standoff where both sides continue to fight economically, militarily, and geopolitically with no clear victor in sight. Scenario 3, the worst outcome, escalation into global conflict. In the worst-case scenario, Russia's response to the attack on its shadow fleet escalates. Desperate to maintain its war efforts, Russia retaliates not only against Ukraine, but against the global financial system itself. Cyber attacks, trade blockades, and military escalations spread, pulling in other nations and escalating the conflict into a global confrontation. The international order collapses, and the world is plunged into a new era of chaos and uncertainty, where economic systems are upended, and the global balance of power is irreparably changed. The future of this war could take many forms. The choices made today will determine which of these scenarios becomes reality. What side of history will you be on? As the storm intensifies and the world holds its breath, one truth becomes undeniable: this war is no longer just a fight for land, but for the future. A future where economic warfare, technological innovation, and military might are all intertwined in a complex web of power. The Shadow Fleet, once seen as an invincible force, is now on the verge of collapse. Every strike against it reverberates not just through Russia, but through the entire global system. Ukraine, by challenging this hidden network, has fundamentally shifted the rules of the game. But the end is not yet written. The world stands at a crossroads. The next moves could decide whether we see a new order emerge from the chaos or descend into a more fractured, dangerous future. This is more than just a battle for survival. It is a battle for control over how we conduct war, how we manage global economies, and how nations will interact in the years to come. What happens next will shape the destiny of millions, and it will echo through history. The stakes have never been higher. The choices made in the coming months will not only determine the fate of Russia and Ukraine, but the future of the world. The question is, will the world rise to the challenge, or will it fall into a new age of conflict?